Daniel, you're a Bernie bro.
I know.
And you know what else?
People have told me.
The Bernie bros are real, man. It's a real thing. But wait, hold on. I recently read an article indicating that that's not the case. And it turns out the Bernie bro thing is nothing but a myth. I even remember me and Paul were talking about how Bernie Sanders' campaign is 70% women, especially in the leadership roles. Daniel, what's going on?
Well, clearly all those women are actually just white men in disguise.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
I wanted to bring... This is a story I wanted to bring up so that once we clip this on Monday... Yeah, on Monday. You can show people this, so whenever someone says, oh, Bernie bros... Blah, 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 you can just show them this and dispel all their issues, let's say. First of all, I want to go very quickly before I go into the article about the history of Bernie bro and where it comes from. People don't realize that Bernie bro actually originated from a racist attack ad, or racist attack. If you go back to 2008, when it was Hillary Clinton versus Obama, and remember that was when Puma was around and everything of that nature. It was, oh, those thuggish Obama boys. That was what everyone was talking about. And so all that happened in 2016 is she just went to her box of insults, took Obama boy and said, this was really cool, and just flipped it around. And that was how Bernie bro was created. So that's part one. Remember that Bernie bro was an adaptation of a racist attack on President Obama. I'm just putting that out there just so a lot of people don't remember that. But you'll find video after video of this being used back in 2008. So that's first. Second, this myth. Again, this is why it's a myth. It's just like the Loch Ness Monster. Everyone's heard it. Everyone's heard of the Loch Ness Monster, but no one's really ever, seen it. So in this case, what we have is more women than men support Bernie Sanders in a poll. And this is not just one poll. This is poll after poll. They keep finding basically the same exact thing. Women prefer Bernie Sanders, very close, but prefer Bernie Sanders by like a couple points over men. And Bernie Sanders has more support of people that would vote for him that are not white than he does white. So this is literally just solely gaslighting by the numbers. If you want to say numbers don't matter, well, there's a bunch of Trump people that would be glad to have you on their side. But I think numbers matter. So when I see report after report after report that says, hey, now that people know who Bernie Sanders is, because this entire Bernie Bros thing got spun up because the southern states were organized to happen very quickly and very soon into the primary in 2016. And that's when no one knew, like, how many people really knew who Bernie Sanders was back then? No one knew who Bernie Sanders was back then. So when they went through the South and Bernie Sanders didn't do well because they've known Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton for decades, people were like, well, I guess the only possible explanation for this is easily that Bernie only attracts white males. When in reality, the only demographic Bernie doesn't do well with is older white males. Or really older people that are 45, 55 and over. Bernie Sanders wins every demographic under 45. So he wins everyone under 45. Everyone under 45. It's the older people, it's the older generations, and those are, a lot of them are very white. So the people that dislike Bernie Sanders the most are a lot of white males that are older, yet he's a Bernie bro because his supporters are white male, even though every single post, every single thing when this happens, and it's even getting stronger and stronger because now that everyone knows Bernie Sanders, guess what they think about him in the South? They really like him. They like his policies. They like what he stands for. They like his history. They like how he supported the civil rights movement. You know what they don't think? Oh, Bernie bros. Because it's not real. It's a talking point.
The other thing that I think goes along with that is the other section of people who don't support Bernie are the earning more than $100,000 a year crowd.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and the thing is though, it's funny for me. It's interesting to see how the establishment media is still run with that talking point. We covered a live stream video where we covered an article talking about how Bernie Sanders' political campaign, 70% of it in the leadership role are women. It's women that are leading the charge. It's women that are taking charge of the Bernie Sanders campaign and sharing out his policies and making sure that his campaign gets noticed by potential voters all across this country, no matter what their demographic is. And so my question is, well, Why do they still hold on to that term of Bernie bro? And the answer is simple. Because for the establishment media, they're hoping it still sticks. They're hoping that
it's a brand that worked.
Yeah, it was a brand that worked, but it's easily to debunk, and it goes to show you just how inept the establishment media is in holding that term, and how even the Democratic establishment is inept at still holding that term, Bernie bro. It doesn't work. It's non-existent. It's like the Loch Ness Monster, like Sasquatch. It's like freaking Santa Claus. It just doesn't exist, and there's no way it has any weight in it. And now people also. They cannot forget what happened during the 2016 primary as well, and how Bernie Sanders was being denied the nomination. Mm-hmm. People don't want that, especially Bernie Sanders supporters don't want that to happen again, and they're taking control of the narrative, and they're making sure that Bernie Sanders is known as the progressive champion and should get the nomination, and they're going to work like hell to make sure he's on the debate stage and take away that corporate media talking point. Mm-hmm. And this is where we all have to remember. Corporate media and the Democratic establishment are afraid of Bernie Sanders. They're afraid of his policies because if he is elected as president of the United States, we can guarantee that he will implement real change and actually hold accountable the corporations and Wall Street and the lobby groups and the top 1% and the large banks accountable for their years and years of corruption and crippling our democracy.
And on top of that, just like you said, it's older, white, rich males are the biggest group of people that do not like Bernie Sanders. So again, Bernie bro is derived from a racist attack against Obama on a progressive senator who helped out in the civil rights movement, got arrested during the civil rights movement when there was no one can tell me that he knew 40 years ago that would suddenly get popular and then he can use it to run. No, that's not what happened. Bernie Sanders is the front runner, and they're going to attack him however they can. But I think the other side of this is, just going back to the DCCC story we just covered, that sure, maybe in the short run, this helps them out. Maybe in the short run, their audience hears and goes, yeah, those are Bernie bros. And for sure, I've heard a lot of people on Facebook spewing basically the exact same thing. But every time they say it, it gets weaker. And every time they say it, less people believe it. So they can say that, oh, right now we're getting people to not believe Bernie Sanders, but what they don't understand is how much damage. The news media is at, 10% approval? For reasons like this. They lie open, they lie in the air.
They don't do real journalism
They don't
anymore.
do real journalism. It's all about stuff that doesn't really matter to coverage of news. And then they act like, oh, how dare you attack us? We're not fake news. You must be a Trump supporter. You must be a Bernie bro. Because they can't accept the truth that they're lying, and this is what this is. This is let me take some of my credibility and just destroy it to make this attack. And we can only do that for so long.
So I wanted to mention that we haven't really touched on this too strongly, but it's sort of the underlying point of what we're saying is that the Bernie bro smear is a facet of the identity politics strategy more broadly, right? It's why the establishment wants to put up someone like Kamala Harris, so that people go, oh, well, if you don't support Kamala Harris, how come you're against women and minorities? It's like, no, I'm against people who fail to prosecute people who commit mortgage fraud. That they don't want you to look at the nuts and bolts. They want to keep it about the identity politics.
They've completely
and by doing that
lost.
smear, doing the Bernie bro smear, that tries to frame everything through that lens. And for a lot of people, observing casually politics, that's effective.
Yeah. And again, but at the same time, it's just like, again, because it is warfare, they're expending in an attrition style, that they are losing people and they're hoping that they can just lose everyone. They've gone from having these giant fields of armies that everyone believed in to they're just constantly engaging in trench warfare and just charging wave after wave, and they're like, well, we got a lot of troops so we can handle it, but we're just getting better at defending against that, and people are doubting in their military capabilities. So I mean, maybe on one other way to say this
figurative
is
military.
Figurative.
Yeah, we're not. There's no warfare happening.
But I mean, in a way that it's politics is war, just by another set of rules. And I'm just saying that they can keep doing what they're doing, and all it's doing is expending their manpower and materials in a way that's just not helpful for them. So on some level, keep calling everyone a Bernie bro. You're helping us out in the long run.
Yep.
Did you like that video? Be sure to subscribe. Paul, what do you think?
We need your help in order to fight back against the military-industrial complex and corporations.
Yeah, that sounds right. You can do that by going to our Patreon page and supporting us. All we ask is for the equivalent of one Starbucks iced coffee a day, which is just $50. Please help us out.
It's cheaper now.